Hello, John Lord here, and I'm just talking about a little area that was formerly part of the garden centre. We used to have statuary we'd sell and pots, but very few people came this way, so we decided to move everything under cover. And I had this little place here, and what am I going to do with it? It's gravel. So I said I'm not going to put a border into the garden as such in it, because if you look out here, there's lots and lots of garden out here. We've more garden than we need. We're just starting to cut it back. We actually started today. I did my first cutting back today. But anyway, so I decided I'd put birch trees in it, and for two reasons. I can still have the gravel will remain, birch will grow up, nice white stems, easily managed, they don't get very heavy, and I just think it might be nice. And they're being put in randomly. The problem when you put plants in randomly, it's very, very hard to avoid putting them in straight lines. You have to really make an effort and to make sure that they have that randomness. So one has to be a little closer than it should be, and another one has to be a little further away than it should be. And even when you do that, you look along the line and you suddenly have a line of 4, and you have to pull one out to move it so you get that randomness, because you want to make it look like, to a certain extent, that the birch just seeded onto the gravel by themselves, which they would do anyway in nature. So anyway, I ran out of birch. I got 15. It wasn't enough, so I planted 15, and I want to plant one over here. And actually it's not a birch, it's pretend birch, but just to show how it was done. And by the way, the wind comes from the southwest, which is that direction. So these birch are going to shade, are going to stop the wind from knocking over pottery and pots and plants over there. That's another reason I'm doing it. Anyway, planting them more or less randomly, and I think we'll stick another one here. About there. I can't see a straight line this way. Oh, the straight line that way. So we move them about here. Move them about there. Now, get the old mat axe. And you just hit the same spot all the time. Real easy. And have a look at the ground underneath. A little bit smelly, it's a bit anaerobic, but as soon as I do this, immediately the air comes in and it starts to change. The more anaerobic it is, the bluer it becomes, and the more aerated, the browner it becomes. So anyway, we dig this out, just like they did when they were building the railroads in the 19th century. That's what they did, pick and the shovel. Now we get the spade, finish off. Always hit the same spot all the time, and unless you hit a rock, in which when you hit a rock move a little bit, but just hit the same spot. Makes it very easy. You don't have to use a lot of effort, just hit it more times. Now birch is fairly shallow rooted, but the reason we're going down a bit deeper is to give it an area of soft ground under it so the rain can get away, so there's no water logging. Now we're going to put in a bit of compost, mix it with the bad soil, and this is a tomato planter. Doesn't really matter what type of compost you use, just happen to have these. And throw it all in and take it all out. Now you have to mix the two together. There we are. It's well mixed now. And here we are. There's a bit of very bad soil, look at heavy soil. Look, you could make pottery out of that. See it, but get a piece of it here, and then we mix it with a bit of compost, like this. It's totally changed, and it changes immediately. Immediately you do it, it gets better. Now we've put our pretend birch in. It's actually a Damson tree. We're going to get more birch in, proper ones in. Don't plant it too deep. There. I don't really firm. Don't firm on heavy ground. You never firm on heavy ground. Only the barest of firming, because you tighten everything up again and you end up in trouble. And the way, if you want to get the roots to interact really well with the soil, just give a good load of water. Even this time of the year, a good load of water. But first, and then when the soil is wet, really wet, you never go near it, because if you stamp on wet soil, you destroy it. Never go on wet soil. Now we put a little bit of a stake in. And it doesn't matter if the birches go over a bit in the wind, because they'll straighten up and they'll give it a nice look. And we put a tie on it. Really tight. Really, really tight. Not the way it says in the books. Really, really tight. Because the following year, that's the great thing about ties that are very visible. You know that there. That's the worst with a black tie. You might notice it. You always can see that. Next year, then we'll just put the tie back on again. Now, what would happen if the tie wasn't removed, and it did? And what would happen here? Just say that you had it really tight, and the trunk couldn't get bigger. What would happen? Eventually, this would all die. From here up would die. But being a birch, it would send up fresh from the bottom, so it would end up the same. So I'm not recommending that you don't keep an eye on the ties of your trees to see that they're not too tight. But the tree will generally overcome that. So anyway, that's our birch grove. Now what we do is we just rake it out now and put a bit of fresh gravel on it, and that's it. That was 2 hours work. Thank you for watching my video on birch.